let the consequences do the screaming. We have at our disposal the greatest teaching vehicle in life. We have at our disposal the greatest teaching vehicle in life. Think about it. What has taught you most in life? Lectures from parents? Lessons in textbooks? Or experience? Of course, experience. It's taught us more than anything. Here's the thing that happens when our anxiety gets the best of us as parents, is in an effort to protect our children, we actually rob them of the experience of learning from the consequences of their choices. You think about it, what we do. Our child has made a choice over here. And over here, natural, logical consequences for that choice. But we get so anxious that we try to prevent them from doing it. Okay, I'm not going to tell you again. How many times am I going to tell you? You know? Like I said a couple nights ago, I just want for a child to say, I don't know, how many, you know? It's up to you. 16. You know, it's 16, like that one child did, yeah. She said 16, you know? How many times? I just don't want you, and we say this phrase all the time, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. You know, we say that all the time. I don't want you to have to go through what I went. But what we're saying is, I also don't want you to get the opportunity to learn from that mistake. And usually we're saying it because I don't like watching them make those same mistakes because, again, I feel responsible for them and I think I must have done something to lead them to make that mistake. And so my mistake is actually perpetuating itself to the next generation. Oh, what a failure I really must be. That's what we're saying. And we're saying, for my benefit, please don't make that mistake. And also we have this other thing of, you know what, I just wish you would respect my wisdom. I just wish you would somehow give me some respect that Dad knows what he's talking about, you know? Because we grew up watching shows, maybe not me, but some of you, watching shows like Father Knows Best. I knew I'd get some of you there. You know, Father Knows Best, and they're like this, oh yeah, you know, it's the Beaver Cleaver type situation, where Dad really did know best. Well, now look how Dad is portrayed on TV. You know, Homer Simpson is the ideal. But it's even in our books, the Berenstain Bears. You ever read those books? They're horrible. You know, the dad is a total buffoon. You know, he says, oh, I don't know. You know, there's this one Berenstain Bears book about the kids are watching too much TV. And so the mom's trying to get everybody to stop watching too much TV. And of course, Dad's sneaking in TV, you know. It's like, again, the mom feels like she's got just one more kid in the family. That's kind of the image. And it's because we have perpetuated this myth that, you know what, kids are really in control because, again, we have felt responsible for them. That anxiety is too much, and so one person checks out, the dad, and one person gets screaming, the mom. And it all goes back to that lie that I'm responsible for my kids. Okay? We're not responsible for our kids, we're responsible to them, and our greatest, maybe our greatest responsibility to them is to respect them enough and their freedom to choose that they get to taste the consequences of their choices. Because that is going to tell them and teach them a lot more than I ever could. Consequences. The question is, are you ready to welcome consequences into your home? And you can guess where I'm going with this. That means you have to welcome consequences for your choices. That's part of why you're here. Part of why you would even go to a seminar called Scream-Free Parenting, which in its title admits some form of struggle that you're having with this whole parenting thing. That's why I love you guys, that you're willing to work on yourselves and keep coming back night after night for me to abuse you like this. But, you know, what you're saying is, you know what, I am ready to take responsibility for the choices I've made. I am ready. I'm ready to make changes in my household, and I realize that those changes are going to begin with me. And that's all I'm going to focus on, are the changes I need to make. Because the more I focus on the changes they need to make, then I've stopped focusing on me. So, I believe for most of us, it begins with an apology. It begins with an apology. An apology to our kids. That, you know what, we have not been the adult they need us to be. We have allowed their emotional whims and outbursts and desires to lead us by the nose. That we've been doing the best we can, but you know what? The best we can hasn't been good enough thus far. And every time you feel like saying, well, I'm just doing the best that I can, then just take a step back and realize that that means I'm not ready to grow anymore. Because the best I can last year should not be the best I can this year. Because me becoming the parent I want to be is a growth process, and it's something I'm going to never stop working on. Ever. You know, it's easy to put "I'm proud of my honor student" sticker on the back of the car. It's much harder to get one of those bumper stickers out there and says "Scream Free Parent" on board. I wish that you would. It's great advertising for us, but instead of being proud of my kids, how about I be proud of myself? That I'm striving very hard to work on myself so that I can be the best parent I can be for them. That's my number one job as a parent, is to work on myself, not work on them. And so that means it begins with an apology. I want to tell you a story. And this is a difficult one. It illustrates the power of consequences and the difficulties that come with setting them and enforcing them. A woman named Mary Ann, she was one of my clients, and again, one of my heroes, single parent of 5 teenagers, okay? Age 13 through 19, okay? Single parent, 5 teenagers, all right? And 13-year-old had gotten into this pattern with mom every morning where they lived close enough to the school. She was a freshman in high school. They lived close enough that she could walk to the school. Wasn't that far, maybe half a mile, but she liked to ride with mom. She certainly wasn't going to ride the bus. But she liked to ride with mom. And so you can imagine every morning this teenage daughter is stalling, taking her time, taking way too much time, angry mother, nagging and stall, nag. They both get in a fight. They both end up late for school, end in a fight with each other every single morning. Mom started working with me for a while, and she stopped focusing so much on her daughter's part of that pattern, which was the stalling, and she started focusing more on her part of the pattern. So one morning, and this sounds very similar if you were here to hear my wife's story about us on Sunday morning, it's very similar. One morning, she just gets up, knocks on the door, asks if she can come in. Daughter says yes, pokes her head in, says, "Just wanted you to know I'd love for you to join me. I'm leaving in 10 minutes. Closes the door. Now, what happened? 10 minutes came, mom went. Now, she said the way she tells it, it's great. She didn't even think about her daughter until about noon. And when she gets a phone call from her daughter saying, "Mom, what can I have for lunch?" I'm like, "You're in the cafeteria. What do you usually have for lunch?" "No, I'm not. Remember, you left me. I'm at home." She just clearly and calmly says, "You're going to go to school, and you're going to take an unexcused absence, and we're going to talk about this when you get home." Click. And again, she says she doesn't even really think about her daughter until she gets home at the end of the day. So daughter goes, and she gets the unexcused absence, comes home, and she's ticked at mom, really ticked, saying, blaming mom, saying, "You left me," and mom was, just holding her own. "You know what, you made a choice this morning. I would have loved to have taken you. You had a certain time frame, but you chose to make that choice." And that's it. But, daughter wasn't really that upset because the next night was something she'd been anticipating for a while. It was her first homecoming dance. And she had done enough babysitting to save up money to buy her own dress. And her older sister, who was a senior, had actually invited her to get dressed with her senior friends, and she was going to go to homecoming with all the senior kids. So she was really excited and looking forward to it. Until she got to school the next day, and she learned of another consequence that the school has with unexcused absences. That if you get an unexcused absence the week of a school event, you cannot attend said school event. One of the things about consequences is they are not only in our realm. As our kids get older, there are consequences outside of the home. It's our job to lead them into those consequences and the teaching opportunities they provide. Now, you can imagine, daughter's just wailing. It's a horrible scene. Her 18-year-old brother is carrying her down the stairs saying, "Mom, please do something about this child, Please fix it," just to shut her up. Just wailing. You never seen anything like it. She's got her date coming over. Please fix it. And mom was tempted. You just imagine how tempted she was. But how would she fix it? What's her choice? How would she fix the situation? Write a note? And what would she have to say in that note? And it was a lie. It was a lie. So mom is faced with this challenge. Okay, I can watch my child suffer consequences that I had never even envisioned, and I certainly wouldn't have intended, or I can lie to get her out of that. Now, my wife teaches high school, and it's amazing what happens when parents get really anxious about their kids' grades to the point they will do wild things, bizarre things. Doing their children's homework when it's so obvious. My wife has a reputation. She can pinpoint a parent's writing style over a kid's from a mile away. She can get plagiarism, she can get it, and she finds it every time. Every time. The irony is, in the name of their kids' education, these parents are robbing their kids of the education of learning from their mistake. It's amazing. If we can find a place to realize, you know what, I'm not responsible for my child's choice to procrastinate this long. They're responsible for that, and it's actually a wonderful invitation to learn one of the great lessons in life. If I can calm myself down and watch that happen, then I can actually walk beside them through that. Actually be a shoulder they can lean on through that without robbing them of the experience. They will ask us to, in many, many ways, and pull our heartstrings, wailing even. But how much have we built a relationship with them that will extend through the years where they can actually trust us? They can actually see us as a resource in life, not as a parachute. It's amazing what can happen. There is an inoculation process with consequences. I get this from another book that I like by a man named Ron Rose. And the principle is simple. How do you get polio? How do you get vaccinated against polio? You get a little polio, right? Put a little polio on your tongue, you get vaccinated against it. Same thing with consequences. Right now, starting tonight, if you're able to welcome consequences into your life and into your home for your children, then they can learn now the law of sowing and reaping. And the better they can learn it now with relatively small infractions and small consequences, the less they're going to have to test that out with large infractions and large consequences that aren't going to come from you. They're going to come from school, they're going to come from the law, they're going to come from friends, they're going to come from marriages. The sooner we can introduce them into consequences by calming our anxiety about watching them suffer, the better equipped they're going to be to handle the rest of life. That's equipping them to know what to do with their space, and that's helping them know their place by introducing them into consequences. The question is, how do we balance, there's that word again, protecting our child from life's dangers and yet exposing them to life's lessons? Like I said last night, I'm not going to let my 2-year-old learn to not play in the street by letting him get hit by a car. But when he's 17, this question doesn't go away. It just gets answered differently. The quest is always to keep asking the question. Keep asking it. Okay, is this a time when I'm supposed to protect them from life's danger, or is this a time when I can expose them to life's lesson? And that can, any interaction you have, protect them from life's danger or expose them to life's lesson. So, if you're thinking back now about how many times you've protected them too many times, don't worry. You'll get another chance about every 20 minutes. It's coming around the bend. Don't worry. Billy Joel, great Billy Joel quote, mistakes in the end are the only things we can truly call our own, and our kids are actually asking to own those mistakes. They're actually asking to own those mistakes because it helps them get a sense of ownership over their life, which we talked about yesterday with space. So here's a question for you. Where do you want to be when your child chooses poorly? Where do you want to be? Because there's lots of different positions you can be in when your child chooses poorly, and they will, over and over again. So where do you want to be? Do you want to be telling them over and over again, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and then they do it, standing over them saying, I told you so? You do if you no longer want to be a resource for them, and if you want them to resent you. I really do believe they're the 4 most damaging words in any relationship. I told you so. There is absolutely nothing productive that can come from that, except I wish you would respect me more, I need you to respect me more, and if you would have listened to me, then you wouldn't be in this position, so you really need to bow to me and my wisdom. That is not relationship building, that's relationship destroying. Do you want to be under them, girding them, supporting them? You know what I hate? I'm just going to come out and say it. I hate the Footsteps poem. The Footprints poem. Footprints, footsteps, whatever it is. It's in every bathroom across America. I hate it, okay? Because there's that point, where there was only one set of footprints, and we think Jesus left me. And he says, no, that's when I was carrying you. Well, a lot of times I think Jesus is walking right beside me. When I think he should be carrying me, he's saying, no, I'm going to walk beside you, and I'm going to lead you through this. I'm never going to leave you, but I'm walking right beside you, and we're going to go through it together. The idea that I need to be carried all the time communicates to me that he really thinks I'm weak. That's what we communicate to our kids every time we rescue them from mistakes. Is not only is my anxiety too high to watch you struggle, but I really don't think you can go through this on your own. I really don't think you're strong enough. How's that for building their self-esteem? That's what we communicate. So here's a tough question. What mistakes would you actually like your children to make? What mistakes would you like them to make? Maybe think about it now. What mistakes would you like them to make sooner rather than later? So what mistakes would you like them to make? You know what? I want my children to make the mistake of talking behind one of their friends' back. I want that to happen, and I want that to get back to that friend. Better it happen now, sooner than later, because they're going to learn, you know what? It really does damage friendships. I want them to make the mistake of leaving their bike out overnight, and either I take it to Goodwill or someone does it for me by stealing it. I want them to make that mistake so that they learn the value of material possessions. I want them to make the mistake like my daughter did at Disney World by spending way too much money on a very frivolous item. If they make the mistake now on a $40 item, they don't have to be like me and make that mistake on, a $20,000 car. Or $40,000 car, I want them to make that mistake, and I want to be there walking with them through that consequence. That's the power that we have at our disposal, this amazing teaching vehicle. If I'm able to calm myself down and become scream-free, then I can actually lead them through that, and they can actually look to me as a resource.